This video will help in creating the application. Previous we learned Django projects. Django create app. We learn how to create a new application in Django project. How to define views and maps the views to with the URLs. Django projects and applications. In a Django framework, a project is a Django installation with some settings. An application is a group of models, views, templates, and URLs. A Django project may have one or more applications. For example, a project is like a website that may consist of several application likes such as blogs, users, wikis. Typically, you design the Django application that can be reusable in other Django project. The following stack picture shows the structure of the Django project and its application. See for Django project, Django application, application N. Create a block application. To create an application, you use the startup command as follows. Python manage.py startup app name. Okay. Now, for example, you can create an application called the blog using the startup command like this. Python manage.py startup blogs. Go to my this one and create. Already we created a playground project, blog projects. Now basically we have the block projects. Block is created. Okay. In this block, this command creates a block directory with the some files. Okay, block admin.py, apps.py, migration, model.py, test.py, reviews.py, init.py, and db SQLite, db projects. Okay, this is there. See this our screens blocks. Open the blocks, migrations. Okay, then init dot all will be there, test dot, then db project, then manage dot. This will be there. Okay, now registering the application. After creating an application, you need to register it to the projects, especially when the application uses templates and interact with the databases. The blog app has the apps.py module, which contains blog config class, contain blogs. So go to the app.py, app blogs. Go to my this one, apps.py. Okay, here see this default autofills are autofills block fields and the name is blog. Same thing here there. To register the blog app, you add blog dot apps dot blog dot apps dot blog config class. This is the class blog config app config. Okay, install settings in the settings.py project. Go to the settings.py. Go to the settings.py. This one, the Django project. Go down. So install apps, middle app, many things there. Here we have to go to the setting.py, install apps. Copy this blog dot apps dot blog config. Go to the settings. Here static files. Okay, settings static files. You can put like this, or you can just put a blog. Anything is fine. To register block copy, you have to add a class to the installed apps list in the this one. Or alternately, you can use the app name like blog in the installed apps like that. Okay, now I'll put here, comma, that's blog.apps.save this. Let's save it. Okay, create a views. A view.py, views.py file in a blog directory. The blog directory becomes the following default code. Go to the views.py. This is the default code. Okay, shortcut implement radar. And now render, create a views here. The views.py will contain, okay, this will make us here. The view contains the views of the application. The view is the function that takes HTTP request object and returns HTTP response object. It is equal to the controller in the MVC architecture. To create a create a new view, import the HTTP response from the Django.http into the views.py directory. Okay. And define the new function that accepts the instance of the HTTP request class. Now see this. We have to import this. Imported. Next, we create a the Django.http import HTTP response, first response. Then I created a one function called home and a HTTP response. Return the HTTP response. Home created. Home home request. Everybody request colon and HTTP response. This one. In this example, the home function returns a new HTTP response object that contains a piece of HTML code. The HTML code contains H1 tag. The home functions accept on instance of the HTTP request object and returns on the HTTP response objects. It is called a function-based view. It's called a function-based views and a class-based view also there. To map a URL with the home function, you create a new file urls.py inside the block directory and add the following code into the URL file. So now we need to map URLs. So you have to create a urls.py in the block directory. Right click, the new file, urls.py. That's it. Now go to the right click, the new file, urls.py. So few files created. Now you have to put from Django.urls import path from dot import views URL patterns. So this list you have to create path empty comma views dot home. So it is the views. This is creating the views dot home. Okay. Then for name you have to give a post. That's it. Save this file. How it works? First, import the path from Django.urls module. Django.urls modules. Where is that? Here is the URL, Django.urls. So we have to import the path. Okay. Then Django.urls path. Import path. Next. And second, import the views.py modules from the current directory. So dot from the views directory we have taken it. Note that this is a relative importer that imports the view module from the current directory. Third, define the root that maps the blog URLs with the home function using the path function. So here put a path function view.home name is equal to post. The name keyword argument defines the name of the route. Later, you can reference the URL using the route name instead of hardcode URL like a blog slash. Okay, by using the name for the path, you can change the URL of the path to something like else like my hyphen blog in the URL dot p by instead of changing the hardcoded URL everywhere. Note that the final argument of the path must be a key argument like name equal to post. If you use a positional argument like this, okay, post. So you will get an error type. KWOX argument must be a dictionary, but got string. Okay, to make the block roots work, you need to include urls.py of the block application in the URLs files of the Django project. Okay, Django projects. Now go there in URLs of the Django project. URLs of the Django project. Now you have to go there. URLs of the Django project. You have to import. What we need to import? Already admin is there. Just import this. I have to include this. Okay. Now we need to mention. So you imported from where? Admin already there. So path, comma, include. That's it. You have to add this one. Include. Okay. URLs, path, comma, include. And now in the URLs of the project, we import the include function from the Django URLs, map the path of the block to the block.urls. By doing this, when you navigate HTTP double slash 127.0.0.1 colon 8000 slash block, Django will run the home function of the view.py module and returns the web page that displays the H1 tag. Before opening the URL, you need to start the Django development web server, Python manage.py web server. Just run this program by putting this. Now we have saved all the files. Yeah, now save. Now we got this one. Just click this. Page cannot be displayed. Now put HTTP colon logs. A blog home. It's displaying a blog home. Next. You will see the web page display the blog form headings. Here is the flow. First, the web server sends the HTTP request to the URL http colon 127.0.0.1 colon 8000 slash blog. Second, Django execute the urls.py in the Django project directory. It matches the blog slash with the URL in the URL path patterns list in the urls.py. As a result, it sends the url.py of the blog file. Third, Django runs the url.py file in the block application. It matches the small one URL, the URL of views, home views.home function and execute, which returns the HTTP request that the output H1 tag. What is the H1 tag? We go there, view, see this is a block home. Okay, fine. H1 tag. Finally, Django returns the web page in the web server, adding more routes. First, we defined about. First, we define the about function in the views dot. Already we defined the home function. Now we'll define the about functions. Now say go to the urview.com, go to this, define about request, return HTTP response. Then you have to write this. You have to write this. Go to the views, already there. I created the another function. Just to save. Okay, now we'll see. Second, add the route to the URL files. Add the route to the URL files. Now, first was the just to post. Now, the routes to the URL files. Go to the URLs. Now, put no here now. Not this URLs. This URL, you go there. Oh, okay. Now, this URLs maintaining all their functions and the mappings. Okay. Now, third, open the blog about and see the display pages. This URL I will go. Save this. Now, what is telling? Blog dot about. Blog dot about. See this about page is coming. Okay, and you'll see the page display the about page. Now, if you open the home URL, you will see a page that display a page not found. Okay, 404 HTTP status code. Okay, HTTP status code. Home URL. Home URL, you will see the page display not found. Let us go. The reason is that urls.py project does not have any route maps to the home URL view. Okay. Now I will remove home. This I will remove. Save this. Okay. Now we have block. So block class about. About is working, but home URL it's not working because we removed now. Okay, status code. The reason is that URLs that Django does not have a route moves to the home URL. To make the block application home page, you can change the route from block to the block to as follows. Okay, here we need to mention. Go to the URLs, block, URLs. Just I will remove this. Save this. Now put save this. Now if we put HTTP colon, then we'll take you to the about page. Now okay, summary. A Django project contains one or more applications. A Django application is a group of models, views, templates, and URLs. Use Python manage.py startup app and app underscore name commands to create a new Django application. Define a function in a views.py file to create a function-based view. Define a route in the URLs file of the application to map a URL pattern with a view function. Use include function to include the url.py and apps in the urls.py of the projects.